Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and welcome back. If you're new, I'm Exa, and I love to do craft projects and fashion things and kind of just blend them together to create my own wacky Exa things. So I've recently started diving into some leather crafts. Check out my whole series on making shoes from scratch out of leather. But in addition to those shoe projects that I am working on, I've made some other Christmas presents that are leather as well. So for this particular episode, I'm not going to tell you what I made in this beginning intro section because I'm actually at my parents' house and I don't want them to know what I made them. So you're just going to have to read the title and interpret what the thing is that we're going to make. Without further ado, let's get started crafting some Christmas presents. So first and foremost, we're going to need some leather. I happen to have a giant roll of like an entire cowhide, but honestly just a 12 by 12 piece will be fine for just making this one wallet. You don't need a lot for this. So this is a 3 to 4 ounce thickness of leather, which is going to be good, and it's just a simple solid black calfskin. Smooth and soft on one side and then just regular suede-ish backing on the other. But obviously go crazy and get some funky patterns and colors if you're interested. So we're also going to need some kind of just normal thinner fabric to use for the backing between the card layers, so that way the cards don't rub against each other. But I'm just using some scraps from an old project. If you happen to see my blazer video, that's what this is from. But really any sort of just regular fabric will work. You're also going to need some paper that you can cut out your pattern pieces on. That makes it easier to transfer it to the leather to cut those out. I will go over kind of the dimensions of this pattern piece that I created for this wallet, but if you have a wallet that you like, honestly just use that and measure it and figure out what dimensions you'll need to recreate it. Like most crafts, you're going to need a pair of scissors. Along with our scissors, I would recommend getting a X-Acto knife, utility knife thing. This one's actually from the dollar store, so honestly, really cheap. So we're going to use this to kind of cut out the slits in the wallet for the card sections. It's so much easier when you're just making a cut that doesn't go all the way across than trying to use a scissor. You're going to need a needle and thread for this as well. I'm using a waxed upholstery leather thread, but you could probably use a thinner thread if you want, although I will say using a thicker thread it will hold up longer and be more durable. And to go with that, you're going to need a needle. Again, I would recommend getting one of these ones meant for working with leather that have this fun, like, triangle pointed, and they're like super duper sharp for getting through the leather. They make this job so much easier than a regular sewing needle. And although you don't actually need this for this project, you can just kind of draw on your guide holes and just use the needle to push through the leather. I would definitely recommend getting one of these leather hole punchers. They come in different sizes with different widths and different number of spokes, but they're really useful for hammering in nice even holes through your leather, so that way the sewing is nice, neat, and even, and so much easier to get the needle through. And to attach the fabric backing, I'm just going to use some regular all-purpose cement glue that adheres to both fabric and leathers, just to help hold that in place, and then we will stitch the sides to kind of further reinforce it. And I would definitely recommend getting a metallic Sharpie if you're going to be tracing your pattern onto a dark or black leather. It'll show up nice and easily so you can see what you're doing. If you're working with a lighter letter, obviously a pen or regular Sharpie will work. So we're going to need 2 pattern pieces for this wallet, a wallet piece and a card pocket. So these 2 pieces are going to be the same width, and the card pocket's going to be a little less than half as tall as your main wallet pieces will be. And we're going to need 2 of each one for this project. So starting with the main folded pieces, we're going to do a 7-inch tall by 4-inch wide, and that will be big enough so that way you can fit normal US currencies in them. If you are trying to fit other shaped bills or receipts or something else, then you might want to measure and adjust how your pattern is going to be. So for the card pocket, it's going to be that same width of 4 inches, and this one's going to be 3 inches tall. I did stack this with a couple different cards to make sure that it would be the right height that I wanted. So if you want to build one that is wider and has more cards stacked at once, then you can just go ahead and add that a little bit longer. to accommodate another card. So I did do 0.75 inches in between each of these card packets. So if you want to make yours taller to hold a fourth card in there instead of the 3 that I have, just make yours 3.75 inches tall, and then you're going to want to add that 0.75 onto the 7-inch measurement for the total wallet length as well. So we're going to get started by tracing out our pattern pieces. So this is the back piece. Make sure that you're tracing on the inside of your leather pieces that you're going to use, so that way if there's any Sharpie marks left behind, you're not going to see them on the outside of your finished piece. And then we'll do the same thing to make our 2 pockets. Don't forget, you are going to need 2 of the pocket pieces and 2 of the long wallet pieces for this design. So once you're done tracing them out, you can go ahead and cut out all of your pieces. If you happen to notice that little outlined P that I have right there, I am going to applique that onto the front of this, just to add a little bit of design and detail, since I'm using just a plain black leather. But honestly, if you want to do something fun and crazy, just go find a fun patterned leather. So just to show you guys, this is a 12 by 12 piece of leather, and here are my pieces I cut out, and they do fit nicely onto a 12 by 12 sheet. Alright guys, so for this step to cut these out, I did go ahead and just kind of cut the section with the slits out because it makes it easier for me to draw in my pattern of where I want to cut them. So again, we're going to be flipping it over to do it on the back side. You can go ahead and lay your pattern piece back down. And then we're just going to draw a line where these are going to go. Just like so. And then we can take our sharp blade and just carefully cut them out. Definitely go get a sharper blade than I'm using for this project. It was a kind of dull X-Acto knife, and I really should have replaced the blade before I started this, which is why you'll see me kind of going over the same spot a bunch of times. If you have a nice, actually sharp piece, you only have to do it once. Ta-da! Now we have one whole cut. So once I finish with those, I'm going to go ahead and trace out my backing piece for the sections in between the cards so they don't rub on each other. So I'm just making it the distance from the top of that card pocket piece down to the bottom of the whole wallet, and we're going to make 4 of these pieces so that way we can stack 2 together to separate out the 3 cards on each side. So here's all the finished pieces that we're going to need to make this wallet, and we can go ahead and start with assembly. We are actually going to break out the sewing machine to sew these 2 guys together right here on the bottom, so that way this back card won't fall all the way down to the bottom. And then we're just going to stitch right across there. If you don't have a sewing machine or don't feel like getting it out, this is totally fine to just stitch by hand. It doesn't need to be the strongest or neatest stitch in the world, because it's just going to be inside and will never actually be seen. Alright, so we want to line them up like this, and we're going to glue the bottom one onto this middle one and then the top one to the top one. So that way we have the right pockets for each. So we're going to take some of our glue, spread him around. And I am using the rubber cement usually used for leather working projects by Bargs, but you could also use some E6000 for this if you don't happen to have any of the rubber cement. Then again, we're making sure the one that's lower is going on the lower one, and you can just line him up and press him down. When you do this, you do want to make sure that you're not accidentally gluing this bottom pocket down at all. So make sure there isn't any extra glue on there, because then obviously that pocket won't open. So then once we've let that layer dry, we can go ahead and repeat it with the next one. So just keep in mind this one doesn't go quite to the top of this panel, so I want to make sure that I'm not getting glue on that part that's sticking out, just so that way it looks nice and clean. But obviously if you do, it's not going to affect anything, because we're not going to put the wallet together until it's completely dry. Again, I just want to open the pocket from this side just to make sure that it's not going to stick. So next I'm going to use my little hole punchers to make all the holes to assemble the wallet. So for these two pieces, we're going to need holes going all the way around these three sides on both of them. They are going to go like this on the wallet on the inside piece, and then the outside piece will be like that. We'll just stick them all up together. So it'll be like this. So these guys are all going to need holes going all the way across, and then also with this inside piece, it'll need the holes going across these top sections as well, so we can attach the pockets to it. But we want to make sure that this outer edge, the top edge, doesn't get any holes. For this top outside piece, we just want holes on these sides, so that way the money pocket you can put money in. Then the final thing for this outside piece, because I am putting the little decorational logo on it, when it's folded in half, I will need holes on it and the little initial letters, so that way I can attach those. So as you see, there's my first set of holes right there. So we're going to line up the last one with the first one of the next one, just like that, so that way we can make sure that we're getting an even spacing all the way across. Line up our punch right on the edge where we want it, and press some holes in. Line it up, press our holes in. You can see we have holes all across there, and then we started going across the front for this piece, so I'm just going to line up my pocket to kind of figure out how far I need to go with the holes. And then we can flip it around and do the same thing on the other side. So now all that's left is to do the pockets. So I'm doing the same thing with the pockets, where I'm just punching holes around the three sides. These do have the fabric on the back, so don't worry about the hole punch going through the fabric, because the needle will be able to push through that just fine. You just want to make sure that you're getting the stitches on the outside leather part. So to get started with sewing this together, I'm actually doing my decorative design on the outside first, because this is only going through that outermost layer, so I don't want to try to sew it on once I've already stacked all the layers together, because then it's going to be that much harder to get my needle in and see what I'm doing. So I'm literally just stitching up the holes in the shape of the letter to just attach it on, kind of like an applique that's kind of raised on top of the wallet design. So for this, I'm literally just going back and forth, in and out, hole to hole, all the way around. Okay, so now that we have that attached, just kind of tacked down, we're going to go back through the other direction and fill in all these like spaces in between the holes, so it's like seamless stitches all the way around. So I'm going to go back through this hole on the other side. And then we'll go back down the next guy. And then that kind of fills that in, so now we have nice, even stitches. So when you're done, it will end up looking something kind of like this. So next we're going to assemble all of the layers. So I'm actually going to start with these two pockets on the inner piece, and just start on one of these holes and just work my way to the corner. And then once I get to the corner, then we will stick the back piece on the back, and just finish going all the way around. So just like with the letter decal I put on the front, I'm just stitching back and forth across all of the holes, making sure to attach them together. Now you do want to keep in mind that because you have this fabric layer in the middle, you want to make sure you're catching that fabric and sewing that down with the layers as well, so that way it's not going to like bunch up in the middle and make it harder to get your cards to slide in and out of the pockets. So now that I have one pocket attached on that top edge, I'm going to grab the back piece and line it up with the outside facing out and the inside touching the inside of the other piece. That should make sense, hopefully. So we can just go ahead and continue to stitch all the way around. And when I'm doing this, I'm making sure I'm going through the bottom of this white layer too, so that way we can attach that down. And as you get away from the corner, don't worry that they're kind of not lining up. As you get more stitches across, they'll start to stay put. And once you've stitched all the way around and gotten both pockets sewn on how you want, then I'm just going to go back in the same way I did on the front decal piece and stitch in the other direction, so that way we don't have gaps between stitches and it looks nice and even and professional. Alright guys, one wallet. So now I'm just going to go in with a Sharpie and kind of color these edges, specifically like the white part sticking out, just to kind of clean it up and make it look a little nicer. I literally just grabbed a Sharpie and colored this outside edge. Alright guys, so here is the finished wallet. As you can see, I did end up backstitching around the side. Again, I forgot to film it, / my camera was like dying, so anyway, just went through and kind of like made that go all the way around, so now there's nice even stitches. So we have our handy dandy little card pockets in here with the nice lining between the layers, and then some bigger pockets, and then of course over here is the large money slot. All in all, it's a good project, and hope my dad likes it. Well guys, there's another Christmas present wrapped and ready to bring a smile to someone's face tomorrow. I hope you guys liked it, and it really only took me a couple hours to put this one together. It was super easy, didn't use a whole lot of materials, and if you're not very good at sewing or crafts, then this would be a great project for you to start out on. It's all going to be some nice, straight, simple lines. As always, please like and subscribe, and if you try out any of my things, send them to me on Instagram because I would love to see what else you guys can come up with. Until next time, happy holidays, and I hope your day is as beautiful as you are.